After sending a letter to his nephew to come over, a man named Jack is pronounced dead later that day. When his nephew Edgar finally arrives, he's left shocked by the news of Jack's death. He eventually meets Jack's attorney, Noah, who explains that Jack died a few minutes after asking for a doctor. Noah then takes Edgar into an office where they find all of Jack's research on something no one seems to know about. Edgar is left amazed by his uncle's work, and he asks to pay his last respects. Noah takes him to Jack's burial chamber, and there, Edgar discovers that there's no lock on the door. Noah then says that Jack wanted the door to only be open from inside. When they return to the house, Noah reads Jack's will and tells Edgar that he's now in charge of Jack's properties. Edgar is shocked by this, and he asks Noah why Jack picked him. Noah says he never asked, and that if Jack picked him, there must have been a reason. He also gives Jack's journal to Edgar, saying his uncle only wanted him to read it. As Noah leaves, Edgar starts reading the book and finds out Jack's story, which begins in a bar where some soldiers arrest him. Jack tries to escape, but the men knock him out and take him to meet their boss, Powell. It turns out that Jack is a Civil War veteran, and Powell is trying to bring him back so he can help with a war against a nearby group of foreigners. Jack is not interested in this, and as he rebels and even injures Powell, he is locked in a cell. While inside the cell, he tells Powell that he's not interested in joining the army again because he's only concerned about finding a cave of gold. The next day, Jack manages to escape, but Powell and his men chase him. They eventually meet some foreigners on the road, and before they know what's happening, they get attacked. Powell gets shot in the process, and Jack has to save him as he escapes. As they get to a nearby cave to hide, Jack sees a symbol that makes him realize that he might have coincidentally found his cave of gold. After entering there with Powell, he finds the gold, but before he can do anything, a strange man suddenly appears behind him and tries to kill him. However, Jack figures this out and manages to shoot the man. As the man then says some words that make a medallion in his hand light up, Jack collects it to take a look. The man then tells him to say the word Barsoom, and as he says it, Jack gets teleported to a deserted place. As he wonders where he is, he discovers that he can jump really high. He initially struggles to walk just fine, but when he eventually figures out his new power, he uses it to climb on a hill. While he's there, he sees some alien eggs cracking and is left shocked by this. Just then, he sees some aliens approaching him after finding his medallion on the floor. And as he thinks of what to do next, one of the aliens almost kills him, but his high jump saves him. The alien is shocked by this, and as his other men try to kill Jack, he warns them not to do so. He then drops all his weapons and introduces himself as Tars Tarkas. Jack also says his name, and almost immediately, Tars tells him to jump like he did before. Jack takes advantage of this and jumps to where Tars dropped his weapons. However, before he can do anything, one of Tars' men shoots him in the butt to weaken him. Following this, Jack is then taken away by the aliens while he still shouts and asks where he is. Elsewhere, a princess named Deja fails to get her father's attention to present something she just found. As her father, Tardos Mors, speaks to his advisors about how a rival leader of a place called Zordanga, Sabthan, is about to destroy their city Helium, he says they might have to give in to the enemy's demands. Deja interrupts and finally gets to tell her father about a new weapon she discovered called the Ninth Ray. Because it looks like what Sabthan is also using, Tardos looks interested. As Deja then tries to show the power's full strength, a strange man secretly uses his powers to shut down the machine, leaving Tardos disappointed. He asks everyone to leave and then tells Deja that she needs to stop whatever research she's doing because Sab's demand for peace is to get married to her. Deja protests this, but Tardos says he's not backing down because her marriage to Sab will guarantee peace in Barsoom. Elsewhere, the strange man who shut down Deja's machine calls his boss, Matai Shang, while he's plotting how to take control of Helium with Sab. It then turns out that during a war between the two nations in Barsoom, Matai and his men, who are called Therns, approach Sab on the orders of their goddess to bestow him with the Ninth Ray so he could use it to take control of Barsoom. With Deja almost close to discovering the Ninth Ray, Matai looks relieved that one of his men has already taken care of it. Just as Jack and the other aliens arrive at their home, he watches as a lady named Sola gets bullied into giving up her hatchling. She is then told to take control of Jack, but as she frees him, he gets distracted when he sees the medallion that brought him to Barsoom. As he tries to retrieve it, he gets overpowered by an alien named Hal Tajas, who insists that Jack be killed. However, Tars says Jack won't be killed because he could be valuable to them. This leads to a fight between the two men that forces Hal to challenge Tars into a battle for the throne. However, no one supports Hal, so he loses the right to challenge. Just then, Tars tries to get Jack to jump so that everyone can see, but when he refuses, Sola is asked to take him away. Later that night, Jack tries to escape, but a big monster dog named Woola keeps stopping him. He eventually uses his jumping power to escape to where the aliens are having a party. Woola is eventually caught by the aliens at the party, and as they beat him, Jack comes out of nowhere to defend the dog. During the fight, he punches one of the aliens to death, and Tars is incredibly shocked by this. Just then, Sola is blamed for allowing Jack to escape, and the next day, she's punished for it. After getting a hot iron melted on her back, Sola is warned that if she has to get punished again, she'll be killed. Jack watches her with pity, and after he's also released, Tars tries to get him to jump. Before he can do it, the aliens see Zordanga and Helium ships in the sky, preparing for battle. They immediately run to hide, and as they watch, Tars tells Jack about the two warring nations on Barsoom. Meanwhile, Sab thinks of wiping out the Helium ships, but Matai stops him because Dija is on it. Sab then fires the ships just to knock them out, and as Dija is about to fall, Jack sees her. After discovering that she's a human, Jack rescues her and leaves Mattia and Sab shocked. He also helps her fight the Zordanga soldiers, and while he's at it, Dija admires him. As he then tries to take down the Zordanga ships, Sab gets the chance to kill Jack, but Mattia says it's better to take him alive. Before he can do anything though, the aliens attack the Zordanga ships so they can save Jack. After Jack is saved, they all run to hail him, with Tars saying he knew Jack was special. Tars then names Jack his right-hand man, and as everyone hails him, Dija shows up to speak to the aliens. They don't seem interested, and Tars hands her to Jack, saying she's his reward for fighting well. As he also realizes that Dija wants to take Jack to fight for Helium, Tars says he will only fight for them. Just then, Jack says he's not interested, but as Tars threatens to kill Dija, he agrees to fight for the aliens. Shortly after, Dija asks Jack how he could jump so high. He says he doesn't know, but she still insists that Helium could use his help. Jack then says he's not interested because he's only concerned about going home. As she tries to understand where he came from, Dija mentions that Barsoom is a planet. Jack is shocked by this, and as Dija illustrates further, he discovers that Barsoom is Mars. He also learns that Earth is called Jasum. Dija then asks how he came to Barsoom, and he shows her the medallion with one of the aliens. As she sees it, she calls him a Thurn and says he's likely a messenger of the goddess. She also mentions that there's a temple where he can find more answers, and as she leads him there, Sola advises them against it. However, they don't listen to her. When they get to the temple, Jack and Dija find some inscriptions on the wall, which tells them to go to the gates of ISs to find answers. Before they can leave, some aliens arrive at the temple and arrest them. They are then reported to Tars, who looks shocked that Jack and Dija made it to the temple. As he also learns that Sola was with them, he sounds disappointed and blames Jack. Jack senses that Tars seems to have some compassion for Sola, so he asks if she's his daughter. Tars is shocked to hear this, but he secretly confirms it. He then tells the other aliens that he'll kill Jack and the others by himself. However, as he takes Jack to meet Dija and Sola, Tars frees them. He then hands the medallion to Jack on the condition that he also escapes with Sola. They then escape together, with Dija leading them to the gates of ISs. After a while though, Sola tells Jack that she doesn't think Dija is taking them to the gates of ISs. Jack then confronts her, and she confesses that she wants to take him to Helium to see if he can help with the war. Jack doesn't appreciate this, and as he and Sola turn backward, Dija says she doesn't want to get married to Sab. She then explains that it's the condition Sab gave her father to bring peace to Barsoom. Jack still doesn't care, but as she falls while chasing him, he goes down to meet her and also tells her that he can't fight her war. They then proceed until they reach the gate of ISs. There, Sola tries to kill herself, saying she wants to redeem her honor in front of the goddess, but Jack stops her. As she still insists, Jack tells her to stay alive for her father. Sola looks shocked to hear this, and as Jack says he knows that Tars is her father, she finally agrees to continue the journey with him. Shortly after, Jack and Dija find a cave where they use the medallion to see that the ninth ray is a power from the goddess. After a while, they also discover that Jack is only a copy of himself, and his real body is still on Earth. Before they can discover more things, Sola alerts them that they need to leave because they're under attack. As they leave, Matai appears to be around and he instructs some aliens to capture them. While they're escaping, Jack realizes that the aliens will soon catch up with them, so he suggests slowing them down. Even though Dija doesn't like this, Jack tells Sola to take her away. However, Woola doesn't leave, so they take on the aliens together. While Sola and Dija are escaping, a Helium ship arrives to fight the aliens. Tardos also shows up to save his daughter, and as she checks to see if Jack is okay, Sab also appears from the ship. Dija doesn't like this, but her father convinces her that Sab doesn't mean any harm. Sab also adds that peace is all he cares about. He sounds quite convincing, and she agrees to marry him. Later that day, Jack wakes up and finds himself in a guarded room. After a while, a man named Kantos helps him escape so he can meet with Deja. While they're alone, Jack sees that Deja is ready to marry Sab and advises her against it. She asks if he'll stay and fight for Helium, but when he doesn't respond, she says marrying Sab is the only solution for peace. She then gives him the medallion and says she has discovered how to send him back to Earth. As she gives him the code word, Sab barges in to see if Deja is alone, and luckily he only finds her in the room. However, Jack appears to have stayed hidden in the room instead of going home. As he leaves the room, Matai shows up and uses the 9th ray to paralyze him, after which he says they need to talk. Matai then starts changing his form as he walks around with Jack. As they see Sab and his bride walking around the city, Matai tells Jack that it's a pity Deja never fully figured out the 9th ray. He, however, says it doesn't matter because everyone with knowledge of the 9th ray will die after the wedding. He also mentions that the wedding is part of a plan to wipe out the people of Helium. Jack is shocked to hear this, but he's unable to say anything to warn Deja. As Matai then plans to take Jack away, Woola shows up and frees him. Jack snatches his medallion from Matai and leaves on a flying ship, which he eventually crashes. Sola meets him there and he tells her about Matai's plan, after which he says he's going to need an army. Together, they head back to meet the aliens but are arrested immediately. In his cell, Jack sees Tars looking bruised. He asks what happened, and Tars says he lost a challenge battle to Hal. He, however, says he doesn't care what happens to him as long as he knows his daughter is already with the goddess. Jack then says Sola came with him, and this gets Tars angry. As he tries to fight Jack, some aliens take them out to the arena. There, Hal blames Tars for helping Jack during his reign. He then tells his men to release the white apes to kill Tars and Jack in the arena. Luckily, Jack is able to fight off the white apes, and Sola also enters the arena to help her father. Eventually, Jack kills the apes, and everyone starts to hail him. He then challenges Hal to a fight. Hal says he has no right to do that, but Tars says Jack is one of them. The other aliens also support Jack, and as Hal tries to fight, he gets killed. Jack then tells the aliens that they need to come with him to Zordanga to fight Sab and his people. They all leave together and arrive at Zordanga, only to learn that the wedding is in Helium. Jack then suggests using the ships to fly to Helium, but Tars and the others are scared of flying. Jack eventually leaves them and heads to Helium. Shortly after, Sab and Deja are about to complete their marriage rites when Jack arrives and tells the princess that the wedding is a trap. Sab immediately seizes Deja and instructs his men to bring down Helium. As they're fighting, Sab finally overpowers Jack, but before he can do anything, the aliens arrive and join the war. With Sola's help, Jack stabs Sab and cuts off one of his arms. Jack then tells Sab to tell him all he knows about the Therns. Sab says he'll do that as long as Jack spares his life, but before he can say anything else, Matai uses the 9th ray to kill him. Before he also kills Jack, Deja stops him. Matai then transforms into Deja and starts fighting her. However, Jack manages to save Deja, but before he can kill Matai, he escapes. Shortly after, the war ends and Jack asks Deja to marry him. She accepts the proposal and everyone rejoices with them. Later that night, Jack struggles to sleep and stands outside his room. There, he throws away his medallion so he can remain on Mars. However, on his way back to the room, Matai shows up and uses his medallion to send Jack back to Earth. Jack then wakes up in his cave of gold, where he sees that Powell has already died. He regrets throwing his medallion away, and after he leaves the cave, he starts looking for another one. During his search, he notices that some Therns are still after him. So before he dies, he gives instructions to his attorney to bury him without a lock on the door. As Edgar continues to read the journal, Jack says his instruction to be buried like that was because he found the medallion and used it to get to Mars. He, however, mentions that the Therns might now be looking for a way to get rid of his body so that he'll die on Mars. He mentions that he wants Edgar to protect his body from the Therns because they might soon access the room. He also adds that Edgar is the key. Edgar immediately runs to Jack's burial chamber and wonders how to open it. He tries to tap on the words on the door, but it doesn't work when he uses his name. He then checks his uncle's letter and sees that Jack referred to him as Ned. Edgar then uses Ned as the key, and this opens the door. As a Thern then appears behind him to kill him, Edgar suddenly hears a gunshot. He looks back and sees that Jack is still alive, and he has killed the Thern. Jack then explains how he faked his death using a potion that simulates death. He also adds that his plan was to lure a Thern to the house so he could finally retrieve the medallion from whoever tried to get rid of his body. Edgar wonders if he was only bait, but Jack says he still needs his nephew to protect his body because he's heading to Mars. Edgar sounds happy to help, and after they're done talking, Jack goes into the chamber and uses the medallion to take himself back to Mars.